back. I don't know if you guys saw this. DeAndre Swift, everybody said, oh, he's going to be a great running back. You know how many carries he got over the weekend? 1.
A few inches later.
Welcome to Be Continued. We're your host. I'm Christian.
I'm Caleb.
And I'm Riley.
And in today's episode, we're going to go over NFL Week 1. As we all know, it's the best weekend in sports. For me, maybe not for you two. I know, Caleb, you're a big baseball time. But, I'll say it's the best time of year. Anyway, but let's get to our 3 major takeaways. I'm going to let you guys start. Which one of you wants to go with these takeaways first? It's up to you two.
I'll go first.
All right.
The first one is a combination. Okay? Because it's the same game. No.
Oh.
Dallas is legit, and the Giants suck.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking that was going to be a good game. I listened to Christian and his whole Daniel Jones love affair, and I fell for it. I fell for the preseason hype of, he's got these receivers, he's got Waller, and all this stuff is going to happen. So I foolishly picked the Giants to win. I think it's just because I listened to you. And, man, that was the biggest beatdown of the weekend. Well, close to it.
They didn't even score.
Yeah, I mean, that was an embarrassment.
Last year was the year I came off of Carson Wentz. This is the year I might come off of Daniel Jones.
So yeah, my first takeaway is that Dallas, legit, Giants, not.
All right, second takeaway.
Next takeaway, the Bengals got a problem because they got embarrassed. They got just beat up and beat down. And
what team was that again that beat them down?
The Browns, who... Now listen about this, though. I don't think Deshaun Watson looked good at all.
They were in a monsoon.
So if Deshaun Watson checks in, then the Browns are going to be tough to beat.
Really?
But man, I still don't. I think Deshaun Watson's done. I think when you take a couple years off football, you're never the same. Carson Palmer, when he threw his little hissy fit to get out of Cincinnati, when he came back with Oakland, he was okay, and then he went to the Cardinals. He was okay, but he was never Carson Palmer again.
I don't know.
He was never the same.
He got to announce the championship game there.
Yeah, but so did Kurt Warner when he was 75. So, I mean, that was a good team around him. So that's my second takeaway, that the Bengals have got some issues. They paid a franchise left tackle, and
cut him.
And he got humiliated.
Well, not only that, they got the Cowboys one, La'el Collins, and they cut him.
We wasn't a left tackle, but
he was the right tackle.
Good player.
And he's always been injured, though. That's the thing.
And I kind of wonder, that offensive line just looked horrible. Jonah Williams doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to play right tackle.
No.
So is that a half-hearted effort out of him? Probably. So they got some issues there. And my last one, where I got to go. I got to go here. The Rams. The Rams are here, baby. Stafford is back. Put some respect on that man's name. He looked really good.
Hey, NFL Network, would you have him ranked 20th?
He did.
As much as I'm a Rams homer for sure. I'm not objective at all, but the Rams looked good. Matthew Stafford looked good. I'm a little concerned about the running game, but I'll feel better about that when that first-round pick that's burning a hole in Les Snead's pocket, when he finally lets that thing go and trades for Jonathan Taylor, who's fully healthy, then I'm going to feel real good about the Rams.
All right. Riley, takeaways?
My first takeaway is that Brock Purdy did not get affected by that shoulder injury.
So I'm stronger.
He came back and he had a game. Not to mention Brandon Ayuk also had a game because Debo, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle were nowhere to be found in that game. So, I mean, between those two, they pretty much...
Did you say Christian McCaffrey was nowhere to be found?
Sorry. Passing wise, Christian McCaffrey was nowhere.
Christian McCaffrey had that one play.
No. Yeah. I'm saying.
Got me some points.
I mean, passing wise. No, running. Christian McCaffrey did good. He definitely. I saw that run and it was one to watch. The second takeaway is that if Miami's defense does what they did against the Chargers and lets the Chargers run up points on them, what are they going to do against better teams?
Well, I'll say in that case, you got to remember, Justin Herbert's always been able to put up points, but as Caleb's always brought up, he can never do it when he needs to do it. And that came out again this past weekend.
My big worry, though, is that it was a back-and-forth game. Both offenses looked pretty good. The defenses didn't. I mean, Chargers maybe.
In that game,
yeah. In that game. But
the Dolphins don't have Jalen Ramsey.
It's true.
Who the Rams didn't miss. They did not miss Jalen Ramsey. But he's still a good player. I'm not going to hate on Jalen Ramsey. He's still a good player. They'll be better when they have him.
In December.
If they have him this year.
And then Honestly, my last takeaway has to be about the Giants as well, because nobody expected them to go in there and get blown out completely. I mean, I said it, but I didn't expect it to happen. They just got handed. They just got decimated. Everything you can think of happened to them in that game. And they're one of the first teams. Sorry, they are the first team in NFL history to lose the sack battle, throw a pick, get a blocked field goal, pick six, lose a certain amount.
But that wasn't just in the same game.
No, that was in the season.
The first
game.
of the season.
Yeah. They're the first team that's done it in the season and in a game and in an opening game against a division rival.
And this was a team that made the playoffs last year. So, like, they're coming in with legitimate expectations, and you start your season like that.
So I watched that game. I watched it back. Now I'll say, out of every game that I've watched, I've already been through all of them. Out of every game, that was the hardest rewatch. And the reason it was such a hard rewatch, they quit after that Saquon Barkley dropped into a pick six. That should not count as a pick six, by the way. That I feel bad for DJ's thing, but he played horrible too.
He could Darius Toney over there.
And he wanted $15 million. Get out of here. Anyway, that game was abysmal.
Hopefully the Giants O-line can find something, anything, because I don't think Daniel Jones had an O-line in that game, to be honest with you.
I'll say that Dallas does have a legitimate defensive line and a legitimate rotation in there. Like, they got some players.
Yep.
Micah.
I mean, Micah's a stud, obviously, but they got guys like Fowler, who, I mean, he was kind of a bust for Jacksonville. Really good those couple years he's with the Rams. And then he kind of got overpaid again and was in a bad system. Now he's in a spot where, like, it's kind of similar to the Aaron Donald effect. Like, you're opposite Micah Parsons or you're next to Micah Parsons.
And DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, and DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, that's a good place to be a pass rusher.
And the one thing I'll say about this Dallas defense before I get into my takeaways, the Giants were able to run the ball on them. Like, you can tell you're going to be able to run the ball on this team. What kind of frustrated with the Giants was they got going in the run game, and then they went away from it completely. Like, what are you doing? You got all the way. They got all the way to a 2nd and 2 with just 9 straight run plays, and then they went straight past, like 8 straight. And Danny got hit 5 out of the 8 times. He had 2 incompletions, and he got sacked.
Can I tell you why? It's because they got a $40 million quarterback. They think they should be able to throw the ball in situations like that.
You know, any quarterback in the league could have been behind that offensive line that week. They were not going to be great. DJ played horrible. Don't get me wrong.
Look, Lamar Jackson has a chance. That's it.
You know who would have done well in that situation?
If he says
would have done enough.
If he says Matthew Stafford, I'm walking off.
I'm not saying Matthew Stafford. I'm saying Patrick Mahomes.
No,
He would have put up a point.
Okay.
He wouldn't have got shut out.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say you're wrong.
He wouldn't have got shut out. He wouldn't have put up 40, but he wouldn't have got shut out.
He wouldn't have put up 20. He wouldn't have put up 15. We've seen him in this kind of game.
He would have made it a lot more interesting. Who was that Super Bowl when he played with, like, nothing but 8th string offensive linemen?
Tampa Bay, where he lost 37-9.
But he put up points.
9 points?
That's points, isn't it?
That's points. That is more than the Giants did.
I'm not saying
And
Daniel.
that's against a loaded team. I don't think that.
I'm not even here saying, like, Pat Mahomes is here.
I don't
Daniel
think
Jones
these
is here.
Cowboys are as good as those Bucks were.
No. So this is, now let me start getting my takeaways. My number one takeaway, I'm going to move down to number 2. My number one takeaway was, it's week 1. Don't overreact. This happens every year.
Yep.
You know who was number 1 in the league last year in passing yards after 1 week? Carson Wentz. Hey, how'd he finish? Horrible.
He brought him up again.
bring him up.
That's one. Put it on the counter.
I will. I'll put it on the
We
counter.
need to make an image for, like, the Christian Carson counter. Like, we got to do it. It's got to be a thing.
But every year, week 1, crazy things are going to happen. You know who sucked last year in week 1? The Bengals. Hey, how'd they finish? AFC Championship game. They lost. And as much as I want to say, hey, I was right about Cleveland, it's week 1, 1. And 2, you know how many times Joe Burrow has won in the city of Cleveland? Same amount as me and you. It ain't happened.
Yeah, Cleveland, honestly, like, I was watching a little bit of that game, and neither one of those teams looked very good.
Well, you also got to remember, it was in the monsoon. Like, it was pouring rain. But when you look at all these, and this always happens because, one, thank you, Sean McVay, not a lot of people played their teams in the preseason. Mike McDaniel played his players in the preseason quite a bit. Guess what? They probably looked like the best team through 1 week, outside of maybe San Francisco. However, when you look around the league, defenses were ahead of the offense every single week. I mean, every game, because you look at a lot of these scores and you're like, oh, look at the quarterback. I mean, the best quarterback play, it wasn't great. And that's going to lead me into my second point. Like, the defenses, they look great. But there was a couple quarterbacks, a lot of the quarterbacks that look great. One, I remember I gave you the stat last week where 1 out of 11 last year won there was actually a lot more wins out of people that didn't play preseason. And I got to say that one of the teams that this leads to my second point, the Rams look great. Raheem Morris needs a head coaching spot. Can we all agree on this? Like, their defense versus last year looked great. I remember he texted me early in the game. He's like, this defense ain't off to a great start. Hey, guess what? Geno Smith. I told it. I don't know if I said on the podcast. I don't think Geno Smith's having a great year this year. I don't.
He walked them down the field the first drive, and they scored. And then the Rams like toughened up and forced a field goal. Then they scored the easy touchdown to DK, and then that was it.
That was it.
They got one more field goal.
You know how many yards? So we can all agree. Geno Smith probably has one of the most stacked receiving cores around him. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN. I like Jackson.
Yes, I do like him.
But he's a rookie.
He's a rookie, and Tyler Lockett is also getting old.
He's getting old, and Metcalf is more like physical specimen than he is like elite receiver.
So 103 yards. Is that respectable for either quarterback?
No, it isn't.
No.
That's
I agree with you on that, but I'll agree with Caleb that DK is more of a physical receiver than a star.
Than an actual receiver.
Yeah.
But would you take DK Metcalf on the Eagles? Absolutely.
Yeah, as the number 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
He is not better than Devontae Smith
if he's
or
running
AJ
up
Brown.
With the thing with DK on the Eagles is he would mesh really well with AJ and Devontae because Devontae would run slot, AJ would run in the middle area, and then DK would just run deep or run around in the middle.
He's the number 3
DK and AJ already played together. When they were on the same field together, DK was the better player. But that was in college, and the NFL, of course, it changes.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to say, defense is going to be ahead for a couple of weeks, and it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
Probably till about week 4 or 5 is when the offense starts hitting their strides.
Oh, man. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. I think the Rams are just looking for the most ridiculous names.
That's what I was thinking.
When they're drafting receivers.
Puka Nuka, man.
Cooper Kupp is like a unique name.
I miss Matt Gay.
Ben Skowronek, the Rams are just going for names.
You guys didn't even play him.
Draft.
Like, I was thinking about drafting, but I was like, oh, no. And then I should have drafted Puka Nuka. Has anybody picked him up in the league yet?
Oh, yeah. Puka has been picked up in probably every league around America, and everybody's going to be so mad because they're going to start him. I think Cammy picked him up. They're going to start him this week thinking like he's going to go off again.
And he's not.
He's
probably going to catch one pass.
You know who's going to be
because this is what Sean McVay's offense does.
But you know who looked really good, and I think you're probably proud to say it. Tutu Atwell. Holy moly! Like I think you got the shirt as soon as you got Churchill's when he started going off. I was like, ooh.
They've been developing Tutu since he got here.
So who's the running back? Because they weren't playing Akers.
Kyron Williams.
That was the start, and he didn't look horrible.
Well, Akers was the starter,
but he wasn't playing. He wasn't getting as many carries.
Well, he ended up with like 20 carries and like 29 yards. Like he had not very good stats.
Wait a minute.
He said he's not getting that many carries.
He
20
was
of them.
getting a yard.
Yeah, and honestly, Williams didn't do much better. He just got the ball in the end zone a couple times.
My last takeaway is, I don't know if you realize all through the stats, all 4 quarterbacks who got paid this offseason, Lamar, Justin, Joe, and Daniel. You know how many touchdowns they combined for this past weekend? 1. Ugh. And I don't know if you guys were able to watch the Eagles game. Of course you were. You're an Eagles fan.
You didn't even mention Aaron Rodgers, did you? Go ahead and put that 5th quarterback on there. He didn't throw for any or run for any.
Actually, I think
before we talk about that,
I also think Jalen Hurts was one of those quarterbacks that didn't throw for a touchdown either.
He had 1.
Did he?
He got me.
I think he was.
Smith.
I think I saw the same stat, but they didn't have one of them in there. And they
So
had
before we
Jalen
go
Hurts in
on,
there.
I think it's out. We need to have a moment of silence. 9/11 2.0 happened Monday night, guys. So
Yeah.
let's just
something like that. Although I have been seeing those
I don't
videos.
think I would have taken it there.
Well, second biggest tragedy that happened in New York City.
Oh, I don't know. 23 million people saw that.
No. I mean, there's another pretty big tragic thing that happened in New York.
I don't know.
Are we gonna talk about? What are we gonna talk about that? Is that for later?
That's for later.
We'll get back to New York. All right.
Anyway, so that's the takeaways. I think we all had great takeaways.
Yeah,
It was good. All right, now we're going to do our power rankers, and we're going to go this in reverse order. So I'll start. My number 5 team in the league after 1 week, and I got to say, honorable mention was definitely the Rams. It's just, I really didn't like. There was a couple things that I saw. I was like, should I really put them there? And I know you're probably going to say, you're going to put the what over them? I really like Cleveland's defense. I don't know if you guys saw the funniest thing I've ever. Did you see what Myles Garrett did before?
Yeah, the basketball.
The little crossover, and he did the exact move. He showed the center what he was going to do, and the center was like, "Whoa, you cross back over? What is this?" But the reason I have the Browns at 5, and the reason I have them so high, and I don't know if I said this last week, I should have. Jim Schwartz, the guy who got the Eagles their Super Bowl ring, defensive coordinator, who's always been a great defense coordinator anywhere he went. Detroit, everywhere he's been, he's put up numbers. And what's always improved was the pass rush. The Eagles in 2015, before he came in, they had, I want to say it was 23 sacks, one of the worst sack totals in the league. He showed up the very next year, they went all the way up to 52. They were third in the league in sacks, and that's because Brandon Graham hadn't quite broke out yet. But they're my number 5 team, and I know Watson looked better this year than he did last year. He's improving. But what's going to help him out, and this is why I think they'll end up improving, and I think he'll end up looking better. Give him about 3 weeks. I'm not saying he's going to be 2020 Watson. That's laughable. 2017, 2018 Watson, maybe. He looks very athletic. His accuracy is getting back somewhat. His decision making is what needs to catch up. His arm strength looks there. But there was a couple balls where he just threw, and I was like, but you could kind of tell it was the rain because it happened with Joe Burrow too. But Cleveland's my number 5 team. Number 4, I have the Jaguars. I don't know if you saw this. Calvin Ridley's back.
Did you see the block for him where the running back came down the field and blocked that dude, threw him on the ground?
I don't know, but I'll tell. I kind of knew the Jags were going to be a good team this year because I was like, they have Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. I don't know if you saw
That's the one I was talking about.
Wow. And they have Doug Peterson leading, and the
He
defense
looks bigger. ETN looks a little bigger.
Yes,
Don't forget Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Hey, I'll say this, and
Sunshine.
he's already moved ahead of Josh Allen on my list. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, that's not hard after this week.
To me, Trevor Lawrence is top 5. That's not even a discussion anymore. That's solidified.
Top 5 right now.
Top 5 quarterback, absolutely. Number 3, I have Miami. They look really good. Their defense could have been better, but you got to think they didn't have their number 2 corner in Ramsey. They're still learning a new defensive scheme, and their offense looked great. But can I just say this? The reason I don't have them at number 1, Brandon Staley. What are you doing? You know they played man coverage on 76% of their snaps. They put their 4th string corner in one-on-one coverage versus Tyreek Hill. What are you doing?
How'd that work out for him?
I mean, I was watching the game. I was like, what an idiot. Where'd you go to school? And if I'm the Chargers, I'm firing him now because you're a defensive-oriented coach. But the strength of your team is the offense. What is going on here? But number 2, I have Dallas. You know what? Yeah, they dominate the Giants. But the reason I don't have them at number 1, I hate to say this because I was all over the Giants, as he said. That was horrible.
That team did not look good. They didn't look like they were there at all.
They didn't look good in any facet of the game.
Special teams sucked. Offensive line, quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. Everything that looked horrible went wrong. And the reason, and you know, Andrew Thomas might not play this weekend. Who's arguably one of the best left tackles in football, might not play.
Who do they play this week?
They play Arizona. But this is a takeaway. I'm not saying Arizona's a good team. They play feisty.
Even the Commanders beat them.
Barely.
I know, that was...
Uncle Sam, he's still learning, guys. The new Hal order is not taking effect.
I'm just saying, you wouldn't have lived that one down if your team lost to the bottom of the league.
I was in the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, the podcast was getting ended.
He's gonna team jump.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I was going to say Giants, but after watching that, I was like, I'm glad we won because this would have been bad. But my number 1 team, I think we all know who I want to say. It's who the Rams play this weekend, San Francisco. Now, Giants looked horrible in every facet. Guess what team looked great in every single facet of the game? San Francisco. And you know what I found hilarious about this game? I don't know if you guys saw what Patrick Peterson said in the lead up to the game. He's like, the Niners, they tipped their plays. I'm going to get a pick on him, guaranteed. You know who Brandon Ike's 2 touchdowns were on?
Patrick Peterson.
Well, honestly, I thought I saw a couple plays early in the game where Peterson honestly looked good, like made some plays. But the problem was, Pittsburgh does not have a quarterback. So Pittsburgh was constantly going 3 and out. And if your defense is constantly back out on the field, then
Did you see what
you're
Trent
going to
Williams
get
said?
beat up. Doesn't matter who.
Did you see what Trent Williams said?
No.
He said, I was generally hoping that they would put the drive together so I could get some rest.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have never been a believer in Kenny Pickett, and I am still not a believer in Kenny Pickett.
But I was telling everybody this offseason, I was getting angry when I heard people say the Niners might suck this year. They don't have a quarterback.
They don't need a quarterback.
they would have found one if they needed to.
If there's ever been,
Phillip Rivers would come out retired.
There's only ever been one quarterback I've ever watched in that system. I'm like, they need a quarterback better than him. And that was last year's NFC Championship game with Josh Johnson. Outside of that, though, they've looked, every quarterback that's gone has looked good. Do you guys know? So outside of Pat Mahomes, do you know who has the second best start to a career in NFL history stat wise?
I'm gonna guess Brock Purdy.
Nick Mullins.
Oh,
Nick Mullins. You know where Nick Mullins is now? He's the backup to Kirk Cousins. Yeah, who?
Kirk Cousins is pretty good.
No, I'm talking about Nick Mullins.
I was gonna say Kirk Cousins is not bad.
I'd take Kirk Cousins back in Washington.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to go there.
Kirk,
Nah, he's enjoying.
come home.
He don't like that no more.
He's gonna leave. Was he gonna leave Justin Jefferson for nothing?
See what I did there?
That was a good one. Anyway, Riley, give us your top 5 teams.
My top 5. I think at number 5.
Tighten that thing up, man.
I think at number 5, I'm gonna put the Rams, just because they did start the game slow defensively, but they really picked it up pretty quickly, I would say, and they definitely impressed me coming off of their horrendous season last season, and I definitely think that they deserve at least number 5. At least like they could definitely contend with the rest of the teams that are up here. Number 4. I'd probably have to put Dallas, just because you saw the team that they're playing. The 40-0 is not really
Sustainable.
It's not really impressive to me because they had so much pressure on Daniel Jones the whole time. It's almost like the offense was out there the whole time. They should have scored more.
So I meant to bring this up when I brought them up. The reason I couldn't put them 1 also was I didn't see much from Dak. Mm-hmm. And like Dak's not, I mean, he didn't need to do much though. Like that's also the other point. But I still want to know what I got to see from Mike McCarthy.
This is one of those classic Dallas teams that could easily start the season 8-0 or like 10-0.
Oh yeah.
Or like they're gonna start real hot. Then somebody important's gonna get hurt. Might be Micah. Might be Dexter Lawrence. Like somebody important's gonna go down. Might be one of the might be one of the corners. Somebody, and then the train's just wheels gonna fall off.
Yeah.
I think
They'll just choke.
Yeah, it is Dallas. I also think that because two of their touchdowns were defensively off of New York Giants mistakes. I guess not the blocked field goal, but either way, I think that gives a big reason to their 40 points to 0, because if they didn't have that, they probably wouldn't have scored 40. What am I, number 3?
Yeah.
I'd put Cleveland, just because they don't have. I mean, Deshaun Watson's not the old Deshaun Watson, and that's what they're missing. If he can find his groove, they would definitely be number 1.
They don't even need the old Deshaun Watson to be.
They just need a consistent Deshaun Watson.
Give him Clemson, Deshaun Watson.
Top 2.
San Francisco's definitely 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Miami in there?
I think.
Haven't heard the Eagles yet.
No, I'm good.
There's no way he could put them in after that performance.
No. I think that.
One W's a W.
It's true.
All Jalen Hurts had to say, because he played horrible.
But I think
We won.
I think at number 2, I'm going to put Miami, just because of the defense. Their offense surprised me. I did not expect their offense to be as solidified as it is. And then at number 1's obviously the 49ers, because they were all around great. I mean, other than Debo and George Kittle not getting too many receptions and yards.
But the thing I'll say with that, the reason they probably didn't get that many yards, Kyle Shanahan was like, we're up 21. Why do I got to give them the ball? I'm not
Exactly.
getting hurt.
And I mean, Ayuk went crazy. Christian McCaffrey did pretty good. Brock Purdy was just off the chain. And then the defense is the Niners' defense, as always.
Did you guys see the best fumble recovery in NFL history? The butt covery?
No.
It's being called. So Brock Purdy got strip sacked by T.J. Watt, and he fell on the ball, but it was.
Oh, I did see that.
Actually,
And
I did.
he held it on his butt. And
I think I
thought that should have been a fumble.
But yeah, I think that the Niners are definitely number 1 right now, just because they came out with fire. They're ready for this season, and you can just tell it. Hopefully, they can keep up the team and they don't get as injured as they did last season.
They look good, even without the Nico Ryans. But however, Caleb, what's your top 5?
All right. My number 5. I'm gonna give my Rams.
Oh man! As soon as I said it.
You know, I gotta see Cooper Kupp
Who?
be healthy for him to go any higher on this list. I gotta see some semblance of a running game. If they do, then I'm saying, like, legitimately watch out. That offensive line looked really good.
I meant to ask you this question: how surprised were you by that performance that they did on Sunday?
I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I was definitely pleasantly surprised. Like, I'd be lying if I would say I expected that. Like, I expected them to compete with Seattle. Like, I honestly, the first half is more like what I expected them to do the whole game. But then they really turned it on in the second half and did everything they needed to do.
I'll say after 1 week, I'm really afraid. I think I'm going to lose that bet. So
You're definitely going to lose that
We're going to
bet.
get the shady.
I think the Rams have already clinched winning that bet because watching Carolina,
that was hard to watch.
they went out and they got the number 1 pick as a quarterback and did the worst thing you could possibly do.
But the second thing was
They traded away the weapons that they had.
when you guys got that when I told you guys were going to draft that offensive lineman in the second round. I remember telling you I was like, it's not the sexy pick, but it's going to pay dividends. I said that your
it was
offensive
the
line's
right
going to be
pick.
much better this season. And you're like, I wanted a receiver. I was like, I know, but you're good.
And you know who else looks really good is Alaric Jackson playing left tackle. Like people, how did that man go undrafted? He played left tackle when Tristan Wirfs, who's a really good tackle, was playing right tackle.
Just like the guy in Cleveland,
Like-
that right tackle that after Coughlin got out, that guy from Ohio State that's like 6'9".
Yeah.
How did he make it to the 5th round? Like 6'9",
I don't understand.
360 that can move like that. How's he in the 5th round?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Sometimes I'm like, who has to outsmart the room?
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going with the Rams at number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna go with Dallas. I'm gonna stick with Riley here so far. I just, they were really impressive. Like, hats off to them. They played really well. But I think the Giants stink. I don't think the Giants are very good. So that's that. Number 3, I would say. All right, this is as low as I'm going to go on this team all season. Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh,
I know they lost. But right now, Mahomes is throwing to nobody. That will not be the case the whole season.
Kelsey's back. Kelsey's back?
Kelsey's going to be back. They're going to trade for a receiver. They're going to find somebody.
They have to.
Like, they're going to do something. Or they'll give, Ross. Maybe Ross will get some more snaps. Because he's been great every time he's ever played. And he seems to be healthy.
He looked.
So-
When I went back and I watched the all 22 of this game, what I will say, he was open. He was getting open.
He's going to be something. Honestly, I said this in jest to somebody. They should sign Antonio Brown. I don't know if he's even allowed legally to play. Like, he'd probably get suspended or who knows. But, like, if they sign Antonio Brown, like, I guarantee he'd catch 100 balls. No doubt in my mind.
Go call Megatron.
Honestly, he could come out and catch 100 balls. Like, but so
Hey, Chad Johnson said he could get 1,400 yards.
they lost that game because Kansas City's receivers were terrible. That's the only reason they lost that game.
Yeah.
Their defense played well against a good Lions offense without Chris Jones.
Well, the thing I'll say about that game and this is what even someone went back and watched and really frustrated me was Detroit could have won the game a lot more than they did. They just stopped running the ball. Like, Kansas City couldn't stop it. That's why they went and got Chris Jones, because they saw that they were like, oh Lord. Mm-hmm. But the Lions just didn't abuse it.
Yeah.
And I know none of us have the Lions in our top 5, right? Like, I can say that. But I'm getting tired of everybody going, oh, Jared Goff's not a good quarterback. You can't win with him. I'm like, yeah, you can.
I love me some Jared Goff. All right, so that was my number 3, Kansas City. Number 2, right now, is Miami. Because the offense is legit. I love Tua if he's healthy. That's my only... Like, I've never cared about Tua's arm strength or anything.
Exactly.
I just think it's just all about him being on the field. Because I think there's something about Tua that he's just got that it factor. That, like, he can get it done. So they're my number 2. And as much as it hurts me to say it, 49ers number 1. Like, they looked good. I'm excited to see the Rams play them this week because I want to see, like...
How close?
Yeah.
McVay's always got known.
Rams
Except in the
gonna-
playoffs.
Both teams played really good this
Yeah.
past week, so
But something I heard that I liked on the telecast of the Rams Seahawks, the Rams this offseason were all about physicality, toughness. And I think that's because they got smacked in the mouth by San Francisco and they got embarrassed. And so I want to see, and they showed up against Seattle. So I want to see if they do it against San Francisco.
Now, we never did award predictions, but I will say after 1 week, you know who I think I'm going to go with Defensive Player of the Year? I think Aaron Donald's coming to get number 4. And
Yeah,
the reason,
from what
did you hear what he said in the pregame? They said, so Aaron Donald, what do you think of this season? He's like, this is like my rookie year all over again. She goes, what do you mean by that? He goes, everybody's doubting me again. He's like, it's time I reintroduce myself. I'm like, uh-oh.
And I think they've got a great tandem. Ernest Jones, I think, is going to be an absolute stud this year.
Did you see did you hear the clip of Geno Smith?
Oh, yeah, he's like, oh, my God. Aaron Donald's coming straight at him.
Also, the show Quarterback that I know you say you haven't watched, but I don't know if you guys saw it. Did you see who was just confirmed as the first quarterback to say yes to it?
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. Is he watching season 2?
No. No, still not going to watch it.
But
All right,
And
so
nothing hurt me more than putting Dallas in the top
Yeah.
2 guys. That
Yeah.
hurt because I hate Dallas,
Yeah.
as you guys know, more than any other team.
they just looked really good. You
they
Giants
looked good,
bad.
but you do have to remember that Giants look terrible.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
Next one, we're going to go with game predictions. So tomorrow night we have the Vikings at the Eagles. Eagles are 7-point favorites. The over/under's 48.5. Caleb, prediction?
I think Eagles win.
Oh wait, do you want to hear who's in and out with that game?
No, I don't care. I say Eagles win 28-24.
All right. So you have the Vikings
Because
covering.
this
but you
is
think the Eagles.
what's the day? What night is it?
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow night, Thursday night.
No Bradbury,
Well,
no Gainwell.
that could be anything because Thursday night football is just an absolute slop. The NFL should stop having Thursday night games. It's not good for anything.
I like it.
But I'm gonna say, well, you like it because you don't have a life, and it gives you something to do, something to watch. But it's not good football. It's not good for the players. It's not good for the teams.
It's
like
also-
it's not a good product.
It's also because ever since I became a football fan, I've never witnessed my team lose on a Thursday night. It's never happened.
Anyway, so yeah, I think the Eagles going to win.
All right, Riley.
At first, I was thinking about it, and I was not going to pick the Eagles. I was going to pick the Vikings because I don't know. I don't think the Eagles are going to go for their undefeated streak to halfway through the season like they did last season. I don't think they're going to have the start of fire like they did last season. I think that they're bound to lose within the first 3 weeks. But this is Kirk Cousins on a Thursday night in primetime, and historically against the Eagles, Kirk Cousins loses to them in primetime, as long with most teams in the NFL. So I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I'm going to go with 27-17 because I think the Eagles can score a little bit down the stretch.
So, I was going to go with the Eagles, and then I saw who's out. Starting safety, starting linebacker. You have their starting running back. I don't know if you guys saw this. DeAndre Swift, everybody said, oh, he's going to be a great running back. You know how many carries he got over the weekend? 1.
Yeah,
That tells you how they feel about it.
I was happy to get DeAndre Swift as an Eagles fan, but I also know that he was like, I don't want to say injury prone, but
And then,
Injury prone.
Injury prone.
He's a luxury item.
Yes, and then I'll also say this. Ever since the game that Justin Jefferson said irks him more than ever from last season is that week 2 loss to Philadelphia. Like, he's coming for revenge. And this year, they can't just focus in on him. Jordan Addison looks like a great receiver. And Kirk Cousins looks very good. Like, his accuracy was on point, and I agree. It wasn't prime time, and yeah, they lost to the Buccaneers. But I'll say this. The Buccaneers, to me, after watching them and kind of seeing them in the preseason, you know who they kind of have the feel of? Last year's Seattle team. Like, they lost their quarterback, but all the weapons that were there, the defense is still there, and the coordinator actually runs the ball. That's what they need to do last
I
year.
don't think that Mike Evans is going to stay there. I think he's going to be catching passes from Patrick Mahomes
At some point. But I'm saying, for right now, like, they were a good team last week.
Speaking of Tampa Bay, I just want to say that Baker Mayfield, and I know it's only 1 week, and he can have zone and off weeks, but he definitely surprised me with just kind of doing everything. He threw the ball, he ran the ball, and he was stiff-arming defenders.
Dude, Baker Mayfield is the non-Christian version of Tim Tebow.
Yeah, he's lovable.
Because,
You can't
like,
hate him.
Yeah.
He goes out there and he balls and he just wins games that he shouldn't win. And then when you think he's going to be good, like, he all of a sudden can't throw anymore. Like, it's...
And then when you think he's going to suck, he threw it.
Like, at the beginning of that game, I was thinking, okay, how long before we see Kyle Trask in this game? And then all of a sudden, he throws a couple touchdown passes, or he threw the touchdown pass to Evans, and they were rolling.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. I showed you the one clip from the mic'd up version, but that might have been one of the funniest mic'd up things I've ever seen in my life.
They posted it everywhere.
Like, that was hilarious. But did you see what he said at halftime of that game? He comes in and he goes, oh, I know the signals. And they keep doing these signals of what they're doing. But what I will say is I kind of trust Minnesota's defense a lot more this year than I do last year. And that's because they added Brian Flores, who knows what he's doing on a defense. And their defense already looks way better than it did last year. Like, even though Baker knew what he said he knew the coverages, you only completed 61.5% of your passes. Like, that's better than 60%. It's good, but
Yeah.
league average is 62.5. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not that great. But after thinking about this game over and over, I can't. I'll be the lone wolf here, and I could see a scenario where I go horribly wrong. I can't be as wrong as I was last week with the Giants because I picked them to win. They didn't score a point. Sorry, Caleb. I know I got you in on that bandwagon as well. But
Never again.
I'm going to take the Vikings. I think it's going to be a defensive game because even though the Eagles' defense made Mac Jones look like a god last week, I don't know how that was possible. I'm talking about just passing. Like he looked outside.
He's
of
back.
That's called a.
He has an actual offensive coordinator.
Patriots are going to be better
That
than a lot of
helps.
people too. But we'll talk about the Patriots in a minute. But I really do think Sean Desai is a way better defense coordinator than Jonathan Gannon. Like holy moly, like that. The defense actually blitzes. They're physical. They just need a linebacker. But I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game. I think it's going to be low scoring, 17-14. That's going to be my final. I think it's going to come down to a last-second field goal. I just don't know how I feel about Brian Johnson. Like, Hurts didn't look great last week, but there was when I went back and watched, and I watched the play calls, I was like, nobody was open. Pass protection wasn't the greatest. But what are you doing? Like, what are these play calls, Brian? And he's still learning. I think we need to give him some time to learn. But I'll take the Vikings win 17-14.
That's fair.
And then our next game is Sunday at 1 o'clock. We have Chiefs at Jaguars. Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites in Jacksonville. The over-under is 58. So I'll start this one off. I want to say Jacksonville so bad, but there's no way Pat Mahomes starts off 0-2, right? Like no way, no pot. Like I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes, especially Travis Kelce, Christian Turner.
Yeah, the only way is if Travis Kelce doesn't play.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce plays, then
And he's already he was on the New Heights podcast. He's pretty much already said I'm playing.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: if there's any quarterback that could make him go 0-2, it is Trevor Lawrence. And I got to say this: he's in the second year of the Doug Peterson system. Last guy that was in the second year of the system almost won MVP before torn ACL. Won't mention his name. You know who I'm talking about.
There's a picture up already. It's okay.
But
number 2.
and
Second reference.
but we can already say Lawrence is going to be better than Carson Wentz ever was. Third reference. However, I'm going to say this. I can't bet against Pat Mahomes. It's in Jacksonville, yes. But who do I trust more? The Kansas City defense or the Jacksonville defense? And yeah, the Jacksonville defense only gave up 21 points, but they were going to give up more if Anthony Richardson didn't get hurt. Which leads me to another point. Anthony Richardson was the best rookie quarterback out of everybody this weekend. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that C.J. Stroud being in the Texans definitely didn't help him, and Bryce Young being on the Panthers didn't help him either.
Neither one of those has like a single good receiver to throw to, so hard to really judge what either of them do all year.
Yeah, it's true.
Texans should have kept Brandon Cooks.
But when I look at this game, I keep thinking there's no way. I think the player, if he's on your fantasy team, I'm going to say start him now. Kadarius Toney. I think he's in for a big bounce back week. And I know what you're thinking. How can you say that? He had 3 drops last week.
Looked like Aguilar.
He did.
Yeah, he
that looked familiar. It looked very familiar. But he didn't play all training camp. He rushed his way back. He really wasn't in football shape, and he was worried more about getting hit than catching the ball and getting back into shape. I think this week he's going to be more comfortable, and I think what Andy Reid's going to get back to being Andy Reid. Last week he got way too cute. You have the quarterback sneak on 4th and inches. Just sneak the ball. But instead they ran an end around and they got tackled behind them. What are you doing, Andy? You're smarter than this. But I really do believe the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think it's going to be, I'm not going to say low scoring. It's going to be in that in-between range. Kind of have it like 27-21 Chiefs. It's kind of what I'm feeling. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
I think that the Chiefs, coming off of the first week loss with no Travis Kelce, no Chris Jones, I think the teams, I'm not going to say teams are underestimating them because there's no way you can underestimate them. But I also think the teams aren't going to be as scared of the Kansas City, like the Giants that are the Kansas City Chiefs, because they started off on a bad note, on a really bad note. And I think that the Jacksonville offensive line might not be ready for Chris Jones' return. The Jacksonville defense definitely isn't ready for a Travis Kelce return, but Patrick Mahomes is definitely ready for a Travis Kelce return. And I like your point about Kadarius Toney, but I'm also worried that he needs another week to recover too before he's 100% completely.
Well, I'll say this: the reason I think he has a big bounce back week, the Jaguars play a lot of zone defense, and they like the zone blitz. And one of the problems with their zone blitzing is they like to leave the middle of the field wide open. And Kadarius Toney is one of the best receivers getting open in the middle of the field. Like every single drop he had last week, he was open. Well, he was actually open. That's why they'll throw him the ball, because he's open. He's just going to catch it, and I think he will.
I'm not saying he won't have. I think he'll have a bounce back week. I think he'll definitely have a decent season.
Yeah,
like
yeah. And I'm not saying anything crazy like 100 yards.
No, yeah,
I think
I'm
he'll
just-
have like, if I had to guess, I would say like 55 receiving yards,
I could-
and like
yeah, I-
24 rushing yards,
I could see it.
and like a touchdown. That's probably all I got.
So I mean, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, but I'm not gonna say it's gonna be not close, but like I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be like 24-10 Chiefs.
I don't know if they can hit 10 points, but
I don't know. I'm telling you that this Chris Jones return might surprise Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think I'm gonna have to go with make it a perfect sweep. I think Chiefs are gonna win. I think it's gonna be like 31-24. I think the Chiefs are gonna come out hot, and the Jags are gonna make it a game because that's what they do. But I think the Chiefs are gonna win.
so more than likely, congratulations, Jacksonville. You just won a game.
Yeah, there is a chance. There's a high chance you just won that game.
One of us is probably gonna be wrong.
So I had Dolphins at Pats. That's the next game. Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites. Over under 47.5. Caleb.
Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are gonna win. Their offense is just gonna be too much. I think it's gonna be 28-20.
All right.
Yeah, I think that Miami's defense obviously didn't look too great, but their offense is just going to take over the Patriots. I just don't think that there's too much that the Patriots defense can do to counter it. He's smiling because he's got something in store, but
He's gonna pick the Patriots.
yeah. But I just think that they got too much. Unless Tua finds a way to the ground, then of course they might be screwed there.
If there's one guy I will not bet against in making a scheme to stop this, it is Bill Belichick.
That's
and
fair.
He was very good versus Miami last year. He was able to neutralize the speed. And what they were missing last year was they didn't really have a speed corner that could really stop. I don't know if you guys were able to see him, but Christian Gonzalez is a fine corner. And the Patriots are not going to come out and play 76% man against that.
No.
They're going to play a lot of cover 2, get the safeties high. You're not getting over the top. And they got a good pass rush. And Tua doesn't have his left tackle at the moment. What I think is that this is going to end up being a really low-scoring game, but I really think I trust Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien versus Vic Fangio without Jalen Ramsey more than I do Mike McDaniel and Tua versus a Bill Belichick-led defense. I think this is going to end around. I think it's going to be like 14-10. Like I think it's going to be a low score because it's in New England, and I think I saw New England supposed to be kind of muggy weather that night. So, and Miami doesn't have a great track record in New England, just like New England doesn't have a really good track record in Miami.
Yep.
So it's a division rival, and family business is family business. Everybody knows how it goes. But I'm taking the Pats.
This guy.
Next game, Monday night. This is the first of
Be
2
different.
Monday night games. Is Saints at Panthers. And
Who cares?
Saints are 2.5-point favorites.
Saints could win that by 100.
Yeah. What I will say is that I'm not going to say he's going to have his comeback game for Bryce Young. I'm not going to say he's going to do anything this game because there's a very high chance he goes out and does the same thing he did last week. But you got to remember, it's a rookie quarterback on a team as a top high pick, and he's on a team with not much to do. I'm just saying the scriptwriters are looking at him and they're drooling right now. But realistically, I'm going with the Saints to win because I just don't think the Panthers have what it takes.
So you got Saints with score?
Probably like 21 to 17.
I got Saints 24-10. I think it's going to be a boring game. I don't think the Saints are that great, but I think the Panthers are that bad. So I don't think I'm going to pick the Panthers to win a single game this year. I could see them going winless.
He did not just say that.
I don't know. I don't know their schedule, so I can't.
I'm
say
not going to
that.
say they're going to go winless, but I don't think I'm going to pick them to win a single game. They lost to the Falcons week 1, right?
Yeah.
Falcons are not a good football team.
That's
But
true.
I knew they'd lose that game because
Desmond Ritter's not a good quarterback.
that was atrocious. I feel bad for Kyle Pitts. Can we just go ahead and say that? Like he was open almost every play, and they don't throw him the ball.
They got Kyle Pitts. They got Drake London. They got all kinds of weapons. They're the opposite of Carolina.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of already had me losing that bet though because when I did these predictions back in July, I had the Rams going 9-8. I had the Panthers at like 7-10. I just hope I'm wrong, but It's probably not going to happen.
I just hope that they're patient with Bryce Young because it's not Bryce Young's fault at all.
No,
he does not have a running back. He does not really have an offensive line. He does not have a tight end. Hayden Hurst is probably his best skill player.
And with all
Yes.
this,
Think about that.
Yep.
with all this, you know what I'll say? I'll still take Bryce Young over Justin Fields.
I mean, they looked pretty bad too.
Yeah.
He
Listen,
has talent around him. That's what I'm saying. He has talent.
Yeah.
Like, come
yeah.
on.
Did you see that Green Bay commercial with Jordan Love in there now?
I'm not gonna overreact too much to that because I think, you got DJ Moore is a good player, but Jair Alexander is probably the best man corner in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
Chase Claypool needs to be cut.
Jair he's a good player. Like he's a stud.
Yep.
Anyway, with this Saints game, I'm gonna take the Saints to win this game. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to say Carolina, Frank Wright, you can do this, and I wouldn't be shocked if they win. But I'm not.
Yeah. I told you Frank Reich was the wrong hire when it happened. So I think it's just going to be
What I will give
when
Frank-
they go 0-16 and the Bears are picking number 1 overall next year. Don't the Bears have Carolina's first round pick?
Yeah, I think they traded it with.
did.
I think they traded it with DJ
Yeah.
Moore.
So when the Bears are picking Caleb Williams, number 1 overall.
or Shador Sanders.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'll
maybe.
take Shador.
That's another conversation for another day. But
Definitely.
yeah.
But I'm going to take the Saints to win this game. I kind of agree with y'all. I'm going to go like 27-17. If the Panthers do win, it's going to be because of that defense. Like their defense, like the only reason the Falcons had 17 points is because of the turnovers. If Bryce Young can play efficient football, which I think he's capable of doing, the Panthers can be a competitive
But how
team.
are they going to play efficient football? They don't have a running game.
Miles Sanders didn't look horrible.
Miles Sanders is
He's better than Cam Akers.
he is all. I mean, they're in the same boat.
20 carries at 29 yards.
They're in the same boat. They're in the same
But
class.
Miles Sanders had like 60 yards, didn't he?
Who cares?
And he was going against a harder defense.
I mean, the Seahawks have a good defense.
I mean, they
Seahawks
do.
always have a good
They
defense.
do.
They got a good
They don't have a
D-line.
defense.
They got a good. They got good linebackers.
They have good linebackers. They have good corners. They didn't have a good defensive line. That defensive
They
line.
brought what's his name back? What's his name? Reed, big dude.
He's horrible. He can't stuff a run to save his life. He was
okay.
only able to do it versus y'all because Cam Akers can't read a line to save it. He is the worst ball carrier vision I've ever seen. Like there were holes for him to hit.
All I know is that, like, I've heard, maybe it's just because of our proximity to Philadelphia. I've heard for so long how good Miles Sanders is, and he's never done anything.
I've never been on the as a
important.
Philly fan. I've never been on the hype train of Miles Sanders, but when he plays, he
He's
does
just
play
dangerous.
decently.
He's always. I'm not saying he's great. He's not a great. He's not. I'm not saying he's an above average running back. Like his pay grade now like $6.5 million.
I think he fits well as the second running back in like a two-man system.
He needs a power. Like he.
He'd
like,
be a good second running back for Tennessee.
Like the Eagles had him
Yeah.
set up perfectly in 2019 when he came in when they had Jordan Howard with him. Like,
Yup.
But they never went back to Howard. Like that was the problem.
Yep.
But yeah, I have the Saints win this. So now the last game of the
Yeah.
night. This game I think is gonna be a really good game. It's Browns at Steelers. Browns are 2-point favorites. It's in Pittsburgh. Over under 39.5. Caleb.
I mean, you know where I stand on Pickett. I also don't like Deshaun Watson, though. But I'm more of a believer in Nick Chubb than I am in anybody else in this game. So I think Cleveland wins ugly, like 20-13.
I can see it. I can see it.
All right, Riley.
I mean, I'm also going to go with Cleveland because we're talking about the Steelers here. We're talking about Kenny Pickett. But the main reason is the reason you brought up last week for them to beat the Bengals. I think Myles Garrett is one, if not the best edge rusher in this league. TJ Watt looks pretty good against
He's always good.
yeah. But the problem is he doesn't have anybody else with him on the line. I mean, for the most part.
And Hayward's hurt, right? He's out for a
Yeah,
while.
he's out.
Yeah, I think he's out. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So I mean,
it's going to be worse.
I'm gonna get the Browns winning, but I think it's gonna be a really, really defensive game. I think I'm going with like 2014.
I don't know why. I just think Pittsburgh's going to win this game. I trust Mike Tomlin a little more than I do Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
And I will say this. Kenny Pickett, I I know you hate him, or you don't hate him. You just don't trust him. To me, it's not.
I just don't think he's that talented.
When I watch the game over, it's not a Pickett problem. It's an offensive coordinator. They run the same concepts over and over and over again. Like when Patrick Peterson said there's tells in the San Francisco offense. No, there's tells in the Pittsburgh offense. They do the same plays over and over again. They're like, it's going to work. It's going to work. No. And you have weapons. George Pickens needs to get the ball. Like, he's a monster when he has the ball in his hands. Problem is,
and Allen Robinson is back.
He looks good. He does look good. He gets old.
You know, his first game was better than any game he had as a Ram. He had exactly one more yard than his best game as a Ram.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but so here's my question about Kenny Pickett. Would you rather have Kenny Pickett or Sam Darnold today? Like,
I thought you were going to
this
say Sam
Sunday?
Howell. I was going to say Sam Howell.
Or Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold or Kenny Pickett.
Who, like, appears to be, like, a failed top pick. He's had moments of goodness.
Sam Darnold, he's not a failed pick. He just hasn't had the right opportunity. Like, I think if Purdy gets hurt, I don't want it to happen. I think Sam Darnold will come in and everybody's going to be like, hold up.
I agree.
Well, he could.
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's the same thing we say every time. That offense that the 49ers have is set up for you to bring any quarterback in.
And I think Sam Darnold has the skill set that if you put him in the middle of that, like, you're going to forget about Brock Purdy.
Like, you're not wrong. And here's the two coaches that Sam Darnold's had. You ready? Adam Gase. He can't even keep his eyes straight
Crazy
on the campus. And then he had Matt Rule, who can't even beat Deion Sanders after talking trash all season. That one's backing up.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett has Matt Canada.
I just don't think
Matt Canada makes a lot of the same mistakes Adam Gase does.
I just don't think Kenny Pickett has the physical tools to be a good quarterback.
So when we look back at this draft class, his draft class, let's say in like 5 years, who do you think's going to be the number one quarterback out of it?
Brock Purdy.
I think Brock Purdy will. But I think that if Brock Purdy... See, I'm not going to say this because I really do think Brock Purdy has skill. But I also think that if Brock Purdy was not in that 49er system and he was on pretty much most other teams, he probably wouldn't be as efficient if even a starter.
Yeah, I always think this is a fascinating conversation because I think that so many quarterbacks could have been great in this league if they'd have been drafted in different spots.
So,
you know,
I agree with that.
How much of that is convenience between, like, you watch a guy just like based on physical abilities, like what if we put Justin Fields in San Francisco?
No.
Like, I know you don't believe him because he's from Ohio State, but what if you put him there? What if you could put Carson Wentz? I said his name. That's one for me. What if you put Carson Wentz with Shanahan?
He'd be good. Where I think Wentz's best fit would have been, and I really wish he would have gotten there, would be with the Rams. I really think McVay could get the best out of him. But what I was going to get ready to get around to was, when I look at the quarterback, if we re-pick the 2022 draft class, does Pickett go top 3? Like, does he go top 2, I should say. Like, I think Purdy's one. Who's number 2? Like, are you taking Pickett over Ritter? I mean, I would take Pickett over Ritter. But what about Howell?
So far, like, none of those guys are impressive except for Purdy.
Sam Howell had. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the game. Sam Howell had a couple great plays.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, but I just wouldn't say that he's like
better than. I'm not going to say he's better than Purdy.
I wouldn't run to the podium to pick him in the first round.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. I mean,
at this point.
If we're only thinking about quarterbacks, obviously in this position, Purdy would have gone probably first, and then they might have just skipped on a quarterback and either traded away for a different quarterback.
The reason I'm going to say I'll take Howell in the first round. Before Howell came 5th round the year he did. The year before, when he had actual weapons around, like his senior year, he had nothing. But when he had actual weapons, he was projected to be a top 5 pick. He has arm talent. He can move. His problem is he's a little shorter, but he has a cannon on him. He can move. I really like Sam Howell, and he shows me a lot of promise. Like, as a Washington fan, I love him. He's the best quarterback we've had since.
I was about to say, I don't think he doesn't have too much time to actually show his skills in the NFL, though. I don't feel like
he's only had 2 games.
Yeah.
I'll say this: by week 6 this season, you both will be saying Sam Howell is a good quarterback, and by the end of the season, Sam Howell will not be the last-ranked quarterback in that division.
Okay, I'll agree.
Right now he's 4. By the end of the season, he'll be 3, 2, or 1.
Who's gonna be last?
Daniel Jones.
I think it's gonna be Danny.
Your boy.
I'll agree with you on that one, but I don't think I'm going to be saying he's
We're down.
confidently good. But
Not now.
no, I mean just
Give
by week 6. I don't think
give me some time because I think he's going to get comfortable in this Eric Bieniemy system.
I think that once he gets comfortable, he will be a good fit for the system. But I'm not gonna admit he's good just because I'm an Eagles fan.
So have you done your pick yet?
Yeah, I said 14-10 steps.
All right. So this is a good segue into our last segment.
Yes, it is.
So you think Daniel Jones by the end of the season is going to be the number 4 quarterback
He might be number 5.
in the NFC East?
Yeah, that was
Now,
bad.
let me just tell you, the city of New York,
In all sports.
all sports, is cursed.
Yes.
Yep.
And I don't know what exactly it is that did it. I'll tell you what I think it is.
Fan base.
I think it's the curse of the Matsui. So, Hideki Matsui, when the Yankees beat the Phillies in the World Series,
He sold his soul, didn't he?
Matsui, no,
Oh, that's no name.
Matsui dominated the Phillies. Matsui had a game where he had 2 homers, 6 RBI. Like, Matsui was an absolute stud. Yankees just let him go. Yankees, Johnny Damon, great clutch player. Yankees just let him go after they won that World Series. Hit Melky Cabrera. Had a lot of clutch hits in 2009. Yankees traded him away for a pitcher that wasn't any good. And the Yankees have done nothing ever since. The Jets haven't been good since Joe Theismann broke his leg. Well, they had a couple good years with Mark Butt Fumble Sanchez.
They had a couple good years with Chad Pennington.
The Bills, we all know about them. They lost 3 straight Super Bowls.
I was about to say we haven't talked about the Bills really much at all in this podcast.
That was pre-2009, though. They had a man straight die on the field. The Yankees, this season, they look like they've got life. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're excited. We got our top prospect, Jason Dominguez, the Martian. 3 homers in like 5 or 6 games. Gone for the year. He needs Tommy John surgery. Of course. As a center fielder. Not a pitcher.
Nope.
Need Tommy John
I mean,
surgery.
he'll come back, though.
The Mets. They had the highest payroll in the world, and like even I, who like I'm not a Met guy, obviously I'm a Yankee fan. Like I think that like the Mets have to win the division at least, or at least get in the playoffs, at least win the wild card.
So
Diaz doesn't even throw a pitch after becoming the highest paid reliever ever,
that's true. So here's what I'm going to say, though. This is what, to me, got weird.
and we didn't even get to the one. We got to do the one before you go.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers didn't make it out of the first series.
75 seconds.
They said
4 plays.
yeah, I was gonna
My
say, yeah,
goodness. And this is the guy that I think, if I was to make a top 5 quarterbacks in the league, he'd still be number 2 for me.
Did you see he said he's going to be
he's
ready
not
for his
playing.
redemption arc next season?
He's coming back. Like everybody was like, is
he
gonna-
can't go out
He
like
can't
that.
go out like that.
No.
But here's what this is what
Thinks
has
too highly
me.
of himself.
This is what has me confused right now with everything that's going on. Like New York City, the city's now cursed. What used to be was the teams that were cursed were always the secondary options: Mets, Jets, Nets.
It's bled over.
Like it's always like, and now it's somehow gotten to the main. Like now
The Knicks have been awful.
The Knicks have been awful
Yep.
forever, but Giants, they were good in 2011. They won that Super Bowl. Since then, they've had 1 playoff run. Like they've only played playoffs twice. Haven't been great. Yankees, I mean, yeah, they're getting to the playoffs, but as we
Yankees
went
haven't
over
been
this-
the Yankees since
they're not
2009.
the Yankees. But New York City, and then I told y'all last week, and I know what you guys said. Oh, you're just being a Carson Wentz guy. Hey, when you guys watched that game on Monday night, who did Josh Allen look like? Who did he look like?
I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. You look like Carson Wentz.
He looked like Carson Wentz. That's what he looked like.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean-
he made stupid after stupid after stupid mistake, and you're like, what are you doing?
It felt like, I think what happened was Aaron Rodgers got hurt and the Bills thought they won. Like, I think they thought when Aaron Rodgers went down, the game was over.
Well, what kind of wonder is I wonder if Josh Allen was worried because he's playing on the same artificial turf. He just watched Aaron Rodgers tear his Achilles because of the artificial turf. At least that's what everybody's saying. So I'm wondering if he was a little scared to put everything he had into it, and he got flustered, and then he started throwing picks.
Aaron Rodgers got sauced.
This is another thing that's going on, though.
Best corner in the league.
Sauce. After this weekend, I got to say, my Sauce Gardner 11 affairs starting to come down, buddy, because the Bills targeted him 6 times. You know what he gave up? 6 catches, 58 yards, and he gave up his first career touchdown. And what I will say on the touchdown, let's be fair to Sauce Gardner, that was definitely an illegal forward pass. Like, Josh Allen was like 7 steps ahead of the line of script. Like, what was the flag? But there's something in sports that I'm really getting mad at with commentators right now. I don't know if you guys have picked up on it. Chiefs, they said it on Thursday, this one deserves an asterisk by the Lions because they didn't have Travis Kelce or Chris Jones. And then on Monday night, they go, that win by the Jets deserves an asterisk. There was a penalty that wasn't called on the punt return. No, this is football, guys. Injuries happen, stuff happens. A win's a win. But when I'm looking at these teams, and there was something you wanted to also bring up, was should the Jets bring in Carson Wentz? And I'll start this conversation. No, I wouldn't bring him in. The reason is what the Jets need is not what Carson Wentz can provide. Mm-hmm. They need somebody that can stay onto the football, play conservative, safe football, and make reckless mistakes.
If I'm the Jets, I think Carson Wentz is better than Zach Wilson.
Yes.
I'll say that. But I think for Carson Wentz, I want Carson Wentz to have a shot to
redeem himself.
Do something. I'm with you. I'd love to see him on the Rams. I'd love to see him back up Matt Stafford because Stafford's going to miss some games here and there. And I think he'd be okay. Or in a 49ers type. I want him to be in a good situation. I don't think the Jets is a great situation.
No, it's going to get him out of the league even faster.
If I'm the Jets, the type of guys I'm looking at, Flacco, but he's last, honestly. Tom Brady. I know he's not going to come, but, you got to ask. Phillip Rivers.
Yes, that's one I was thinking.
I'm going to go for somebody that knows what they're doing, that's not going to try to do too much, and that's not like a Cam Newton type that's going to come out and, try and,
save the team.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick's agent said he reached out and said he's available. So we saw how Deshaun Watson looked after missing 2 years, right?
Yeah.
How do you think Colin Kaepernick, who was never close to the player Deshaun Watson would look after 7
Look, if Colin Kaepernick wanted a job, his agent should have been reaching out to all 30 teams over the offseason saying, my guy wants an opportunity to come play.
He shouldn't have been.
And he's going to show up quietly. He's going to, he's willing to be on a practice squad. He's going to play in the
Well, remember last year.
That's how he plays.
Well, let's say, I'm going to say it was 18.
Because somebody would sign him. Somebody would sign him for, just because it's interesting.
Yeah.
People
remember the Raiders worked him out. They were going, when Josh McDaniels, they worked him out. What happened was, when he got into the building, he wanted to bring his camera guys up, and they were like, okay, we just want to have you.
It's the same thing as Russell Wilson.
And then they gave him an opportunity. They were like, we're going to see what you can do. In shorts, they said he barely completed half of his passes. They said his arm strength wasn't really there. And I remember there was a report, his arm strength. You know why they said, his arm strength's still there when the players were out with him in the offseason this year? Because they remember reading last year, his arm strength ain't there. And his play style doesn't equate to winning anymore. And the number one quarterback, if I'm the Jets, that I would go after to help Zach Wilson, learn, but really play this type of protect the ball, winning football that I think they need him to play, I think Matt Ryan would be the option I'd go with. I think he's the safe, conservative option that's played in systems like this. But there was a name that brought up, and they're looking, what Nathaniel Hackett really wants is somebody that's played in a system. And the name that I keep hearing over and over again in these circles is Blake Bortles or Chad Henne. Those are the names that they're kind of thinking to bring in. But don't be shocked.
Henne's retired, right? Henne said he's done.
Henne's retired. But if he was offered a starting job, do you think maybe he'd come back?
I mean, and they only need him for a year. They only need him for the season.
Kind of the same with Blake Bortles. I think Blake Bortles got tired of riding that practice squad thing.
He was on the Rams last, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles is another one of those dudes that to my other point, what if he got if he had been drafted in a better situation?
Yeah, he was
a talented guy.
He got put in. I feel like one of the worst Jacksonville systems, at least as of recently.
His problem always wasn't physicality. His systems around him also weren't horrible. There was times where his best system was 2017 with Hackett. I will say that. But his problem was decision making. Things he would do at certain times would be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, but at that time, he wasn't really throwing to anybody either.
Yeah.
Whoa.
If you bring up Marvin Jones again as
not
a good
Marvin,
receiver.
I was not saying Marvin Jones.
Who are you going to say?
Marvin Jones was not even on.
2017 Jaguars had a really good, before injury, Allen Robinson. Let's remember how good
Allen Robinson has always been a fraud. I've always thought that. I tried to change my tune because he was a Ram, and as a homer, I have to root for him. And as soon as he got on the Rams, he did nothing. He did nothing all those years in Chicago. Everybody's like, oh, he's a great player. He's in a bad situation. No, he's not.
No.
He's a big dude that catches some balls.
Yep.
That's it.
But in Jacksonville, he got open. Jacksonville, he actually had some speed to him. And then he had Allen Hurns. I don't know.
Trash.
They had
Trash.
the Allen combination.
Trash.
And then he had Leonard Fournette.
Did have Leonard Fournette.
Rookie.
Rookie Leonard Fournette.
Playoff Lenny.
Yeah, he was pretty good that year. But what I'm going to say is, I don't think the Jaguars can make this splashy hire. Like, I really hope they don't get Carson Wentz, because I would hate that for Carson. Because I want to root for Carson. I always say Carson's one of my favorite players. We'll be through.
We know.
But I'm not going to switch his team again. I'm staying. I love it here in
Yeah,
Washington.
and you can't become a New York fan. Like, no one should become a New York fan right now. Like,
Yet again, I was told I should never become a Commanders fan.
yeah,
That's
I don't
true.
know why you would do that.
I think
honestly.
literally the
That
worst
was a-
team that you probably could have gone to would
That
have
was
been
a
the Jets.
weird
though.
move.
I love Washington, though. I really do. I like it here. Anyway, but when I look at...
She's going back to the Eagles.
Oh, God, no.
Bandwagon is.
When you're part of the fan
Don't
base,
play
it's
right.
not that big of a deal.
Now when I look at it back, I'm like, ugh. Some of the stuff I used to say, like, wow.
When you're part of the fan base, it don't see. I say
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York, though, man.
It's
We're cursed.
yeah, it's tough.
As a Yankee fan, there's 13-year-olds walking around New York that have never seen a championship. That's a crime. It's a crime.
Personally,
That's a crime.
I'm hoping that the Bills
bounce back because
we took them as division leaders, but they don't look too great right now.
What I'm going to say is, if the Bills want Josh Allen to get back to the Josh Allen that he was a couple years ago, you know what needs to be the number one move they make? Fire Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott and Stephon Diggs, I'm going to say this now, they've ruined what Josh Allen once was. Why? Because they went through the media and they've been talking and they're like, oh, we just need him to smarten up. Smarten up. Hey, man, quarterbacks have fragile minds. Every single quarterback does. I don't care
What about this? What if you've already seen the best of Josh Allen?
You know who got the best out of Josh Allen? And I'll say this again. Brian Daboll. Yeah, look what he did with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, before he arrived, we all thought he was out of the league, right? He was going to go out of the league. Brian
He
Daboll.
should be out of the league.
But Brian
He's
Daboll.
terrible.
Brian Daboll came in. He looked like a classic game manager.
If-
Now, look at what he did with Josh Allen. Josh Allen, before Daboll left, he was only a 10 to 11 interception guy. Since Daboll's left, you know who's number one in the league in just playing off turnovers? Josh Allen. Why? Because Daboll would be in his throat going, don't you do these stupid mistakes.
I think it's because Jameis Winston doesn't have a job.
How does Jameis Winston? How does he not have a job? Is he?
He's backup. Derek Carr.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a quarterback the Jets could go for.
And then this is another one they could go for is Jacoby Brissett. As a
Yep.
Commander's fan, I really don't want that to happen because you know what our luck would be? We trade Jacoby Brissett and guess who
Same
gets
how
out?
it goes down.
And Sam Darnold doesn't know how to protect.
Well, I'll tell you what. They can't have Stetson Bennett because he's hurt. So
How'd he get hurt?
they're saying something about an arthritic back because he's 85 years old.
So why don't you guys sign a backup?
No, they just put him on IR today, so they probably will sign somebody. They got Ripien or whatever. So
Carson Wentz.
Carson,
There's
buddy.
number one for me.
Could be time.
But
There was said there was interest.
true.
makes
But no,
a lot
that
of
is
sense.
that's a good point that you brought up. What if we have seen the best of Josh Allen? What if he was so hyped up to be the challenger for Patrick Mahomes? Then he's peaked already.
Yeah.
No. So we all thought it was going to be Josh, right? It's became Joe.
It has become Joe.
I think
And now it's going to become Trevor.
what I saw in week one is a lot of bad quarterback play. And a lot of that, I think it does come from they didn't play in the preseason. Their receivers didn't play in the preseason. The starting linemen, for the most part, didn't play in the preseason. So this is like practice, but the other team's ready to rock
And we got breaking news, guys. Do you know how you get better at football?
by playing.
By playing football. Whoa.
Like, honestly, I don't think it's a stretch. I think Matt Stafford was a top 3 quarterback in the league on week one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
he
no.
is right now, but in week one, I say Trevor Lawrence, Stafford. I don't know who the other
Purdy.
top 3 would be. Purdy was pretty.
So
flawless.
outside of COVID and outside of the year the Rams won the Super Bowl, do you know what every other playoff team has in common, or Super Bowl team has in common? They played their starters in the preseason. Like, it actually helps, believe it or not. It's a fascinating fact.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, we're doing it to avoid injury. Hey guys, if you're going to get injured, it's going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
What like Aaron Rodgers barely played preseason. If he got hurt in preseason, what's the difference in him getting hurt in preseason or getting hurt in 4 snaps?
Artificial turf. Get rid of it.
Get rid of the turf.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else you guys want to add?
No, it's only week
No.
one. I'm not really worried about
Go
anybody.
Yankees. We're still alive. We're not eliminated from the wild card race.
I'm sorry for
7
your
games
curse.
out.
I'm sorry for your curse.
If we sweep Boston, we got a doubleheader tomorrow. They got rained out tonight. If they win another doubleheader against Boston, go ahead, sweep the 6 we got left with Toronto. We're in there. In there like swimwear.
All right.
All right.
Yankees AAA team is up, making noise.
I doubt it, but you know what? We will see how we're feeling this time next week.
All right.
Anyway, please like, please subscribe, and until next time.
To be continued.